Listen to me. There is no perfect moment. You keep waiting for the stars to align, waiting for the right time, for the right amount of money, the right connection, the right mindset. You keep waiting, and life keeps passing you by. I got news for you. The perfect moment's a lie. You know what's real? The grind, the sacrifice, the decision to move even when you're scared, even when you're broke, even when you're not ready. You think the greats waited for perfect? You think Kobe waited until he felt 100% every game? You think Oprah waited until everybody believed in her? You think I waited? Nah, I got up when it was ugly. I spoke when my voice was shaky. I worked when I was tired. You're looking for perfect, but what you really need is purpose. Stop overthinking and start over-delivering. The moment doesn't make you perfect. You make the moment powerful. The moment is now. Perfect moments don't exist. Take imperfect action. It sounds simple, but for most people, it's one of the hardest truths to accept. We grow up hearing phrases like a wait for the right time, a be patient, or make sure everything is in place first. But here's the reality. If you keep waiting for everything to line up perfectly, you'll never start. You'll be sitting on dreams, sitting on goals, watching opportunities pass you by because you were waiting for the stars to align. Let me tell you something. You can plan, you can prepare, you can map it all out, but life doesn't operate on your schedule. Life is messy, it's unpredictable. And if you think it's going to hand you a moment wrapped in gold with a tag that says, and now is the time, you'll be stuck on pause for the rest of your life. The people who make it, the ones who rise, the ones who change the game, they don't wait. They move, they act. They take that first step when their hands are shaking and their hearts are pounding. Why? Because they know movement creates momentum. Perfection is a myth. It's a trick your mind plays to protect you from failure, but in the process, it also protects you from success. You keep saying, I'll start my business when I have more money. I'll go after that promotion when I feel more confident. I'll work on my dream when things calm down. But what if they don't? What if they don't? What if life never calms down? What if the money never shows up? What if confidence only comes after you do the thing you're scared of? See, we think the action has to be big. We think it has to be perfect. We think it has to be Instagram worthy or worth telling the world. But that's not how it works. Progress starts with small, shaky steps. Steps nobody sees. Steps that might feel silly or slow, but every single one of them counts. Every single one of them builds something in you. Discipline, consistency, belief. Think about the people you admire. The athletes, the artists, the entrepreneurs. Do you think they started perfect? No, they started broke. They started unsure. They started in basements, on sidewalks, in small towns no one heard of. They made mistakes. They failed. They got embarrassed, but they didn't stop. They didn't wait. They acted before they were ready, and that's why they're ready now. Taking imperfect action is an act of faith. Faith in yourself. Faith that even if you don't have it all together, you can figure it out. You'll learn, you'll grow, you'll adjust. That's how winners think. They understand that the real lesson is in the doing, not in the waiting. You can read every book, watch every video, listen to every podcast, but until you move, you won't change. There's power in starting ugly. There's strength in trying and failing and trying again. Because every attempt shapes you, every setback makes you sharper. And every time you step out, even if it's not perfect, you're building courage. You're building confidence. You're building something that can't be taught, only earned. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I fail? Let me flip that. What if you succeed? What if the thing you're scared to start turns into the thing that changes your life? You won't know until you try. And guess what? If you fail, that's not the end. That's just data. That's information. That's something you can work with. You're not starting from scratch anymore. You're starting from experience. The only real failure is not starting. The only thing worse than falling short is never showing up in the first place. You can recover from a bad decision. You can bounce back from a loss, but you can't fix regret. You can't rewind time. You can't reclaim the days you spent waiting for everything to be just right. You gotta act now, not later, not next month, not when you feel like it. Now, because when you move, even when it's messy, you set something in motion. Life responds to movement. Doors open when you knock. People show up when you show up. Opportunities reveal themselves when you're actually in the game, not watching from the sideline. Taking imperfect action doesn't mean you don't plan. It doesn't mean you rush blindly. It means you accept that clarity comes after you start, not before. It means you're willing to look foolish, to stumble, to sweat, to struggle, because what's on the other side is worth it. And every step, no matter how awkward, brings you closer to that vision. You don't need more time. You don't need more money. You don't need more approval. You need more courage. You need the kind of courage that says, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm going anyway. That's the mindset that breaks chains. That's the fire that builds legacy. That's the energy that turns ordinary people into world changers. So stop waiting. The world doesn't need your perfect plan. It needs your real action. Somebody out there needs what you have, but they'll never see it if you keep hiding behind preparation. Start with what you got. Do what you can. Begin where you are and watch how your imperfect steps become the foundation of something extraordinary. Because the truth is, you don't need a perfect moment. You just need to move. Waiting for the right time is an excuse in disguise. It sounds reasonable on the surface. Well, I'll do it when the time is right. You say it with confidence as if it's wisdom, as if there's some magic date on the calendar when all the lights will turn green. The weather will be perfect, and you'll finally feel ready. But deep down, you know what it really is. It's fear. It's procrastination wearing a suit and tie. It's the voice in your head that's too afraid to fail, so it convinces you to wait. And in the process, it steals your future. You keep telling yourself you're waiting for the perfect moment. But what are you really waiting for? For the fear to go away? It won't. For the doubt to disappear? It won't. For life to slow down? It won't. There is no perfect moment coming to save you. The conditions will never be flawless. The timing will never feel 100% right. If you're always waiting for the clouds to part and the sun to shine down on your dreams, you'll be waiting forever. And that's the trap. You don't need more time. You need more commitment. You need more courage. The problem isn't the world, it's your mindset. You've convinced yourself that delay is strategy, that hesitation is maturity. But the truth is, most of the time, it's just fear playing dress up. You're not being smart. You're being scared. You're not being patient. You're being passive. And the worst part is you don't even realize it because of waiting for the right time sounds so reasonable. But let me ask you this. How many opportunities have you let slip because you were waiting for a better time? How many dreams have you shelved because life wasn't convenient? How many times have you talked yourself out of greatness because the timing felt off? The truth is, you don't need more time. You need to act with the time you've got. You need to realize that right now is the only moment you can actually control. Do you think the people at the top were handed the perfect condition? You think they had time on their side, money in the bank, support from every angle? No. They had the same chaos, the same uncertainty, the same inner voice telling them to wait, but they moved anyway. They started anyway. They launched a business. They applied for the job. They trained in the gym. They showed up, and because they showed up, doors opened. Not because the time was right, but because they were willing to act when it wasn't. Every excuse has a root. And most of the time, it's not about the excuse. It's about the fear behind it. You say you're too busy. You're not, it's just not a priority. You say you're waiting until your more confidence doesn't come before the action. It comes after. You say you're waiting for more clarity. Clarity shows up in motion, not in stillness. You can't steer a parked car. We live in a culture that glorifies perfect timing. But real life isn't a movie. There's no soundtrack that starts playing when it's your big moment. Nobody's gonna tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, it's time now. You have to create the moment. You have to decide today that it's worth doing even if the conditions aren't ideal. Because newsflash, they never will be. And that's the secret. Winners aren't lucky, they're willing. They're willing to start scared, willing to look stupid, willing to fall flat on their face and still get back up. Because they understand that motion matters more than perfection. They understand that doing something today is more powerful than planning something amazing for 5 years from now. They don't wait, they work. When you stop hiding behind timing, you start taking responsibility. You stop blaming the world and start building your world. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You become the kind of person who gets things done. Not someday, not eventually, but now. And that shift, that mindset is the beginning of everything. Every major success story starts the same way, with someone who stopped waiting. Someone who looked at the mess, the chaos, the fear and said, I'm going anyway. Someone who didn't feel ready but moved forward anyway. And every step they took, every stumble they made, taught them more than waiting ever could. Because action is the best teacher. It sharpens you. It grows you. It exposes your weaknesses so you can fix them and reveals your strengths so you can use them. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I'm just waiting for the right time, I want you to pause. I want you to ask yourself, am I really waiting for time? Or am I just afraid of taking the leap? Be honest, call it what it is, and then choose to act anyway. Even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if it's terrifying. Because the right time is not on the clock, it's in your decision. It's not marked on the calendar, it's hidden in your willingness to start. The perfect time will never arrive, but your time, that can start the moment you decide it matters more to move forward than to stay still. Start now, start messy, start scared, but start. Readiness is not a feeling, it's not a feeling, it's a decision. Most people wait to feel ready before they take the next step. They think that one day they'll wake up and magically feel confident, prepared, and fearless. They wait for a moment when the fear is gone, the doubts are silent, and motivation is sky high. But that moment rarely, if ever, comes. Readiness doesn't show up like the sunrise. It's not something that arrives naturally. It's something you choose to step into. You don't need a sign. You don't need to be certain. You don't need to feel brave. What you need is to decide. Decide that no matter how scared you are, you're moving. Decide that no matter how unclear the path is, you're walking anyway. That's what readiness looks like. Not comfort, but commitment. The people who succeed in life don't always feel ready. In fact, they rarely do. They feel the same fear, the same pressure, the same insecurity as everyone else. But they make the choice to go forward anyway. They understand that waiting to feel ready is just another form of avoidance, another delay tactic, another lie we tell ourselves to stay safe in our comfort zone. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I'm not ready yet? Maybe you were offered an opportunity and turned it down. Maybe you had a great idea but didn't pursue it. Maybe you wanted to make a change but held back. And each time, you convinced yourself it was because you weren't ready. But let's be real. Was it really about readiness, or was it about fear? Fear has a clever disguise. It wears a mask of logic. It says, let's wait until things are a little more stable. Now let's get a little more experience first. Let's make sure we won't fail. But fear doesn't go away with time. It grows. The longer you wait, the louder the doubts become. The more comfortable you get with staying still. And suddenly you've been stuck for years, telling yourself you're just getting ready. Here's the truth. You get ready by doing. You get stronger by lifting the weight, not by thinking about lifting it. You get better by taking action, failing, learning, adjusting, not by sitting on the sidelines planning every detail. Readiness is built through motion. Confidence is earned through repetition. Courage is developed by facing what scares you, not by avoiding it. Look at anyone you admire, an athlete, a speaker, an entrepreneur, an artist. Do you think they started out feeling ready? Most of them will tell you they felt overwhelmed, unqualified, and uncertain. But they showed up. They tried. They fell and got back up. They kept going. And with each step, each attempt, they became more ready. Not because the fear vanished, but because their decision to keep moving became stronger than their fear. Readiness is a muscle. You train it. You stretch it. And just like any muscle, the first time you use it, it feels awkward, it hurts. But the more you use it, the more it grows. The first time you speak in public, your voice shakes. The first time you launch a business, you make mistakes. The first time you take a risk, it feels terrifying. But if you keep stepping up, if you keep showing up, those moments shape you into someone who is always ready. Not because everything is perfect, but because you've trained yourself to respond. Don't confuse being prepared with being ready. Preparation is about gathering tools. Readiness is about choosing to use them. You might have all the skills, all the knowledge, all the resources, but if you never decide to act, you're still not ready. On the other hand, You might have gaps. You might feel nervous. But if you choose to act, you are ready. Because readiness isn't about having everything figured out. It's about trusting yourself enough to begin. This mindset shift changes everything. It puts the power back in your hands. You're not waiting for a feeling. You're not hoping for a sign. You're creating your own momentum. You're becoming the kind of person who doesn't need permission to act. You're leading yourself. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's risky. Yes, you will face obstacles. But the longer you wait for comfort, the longer you delay your growth. And here's what's really wild. Most of the time, the things we're afraid of aren't even as bad as we imagine. Once we start, we realize it's manageable. We figure it out, we adapt. The fear that kept us frozen loses its power the moment we move through it. So stop looking for a sign. Stop waiting for the fear to disappear. Stop telling yourself you're not ready. You are. Not because you have it all together, but because you have what it takes to figure it out as you go. That's what winners do. They start now. They make the call. They send the message. They step on the stage. They launch the idea, not because they feel ready, but because they've decided to be. And every time they act from that place, their belief in themselves grows. Their resilience grows. Their ability to handle the unknown gets stronger. That's how you build a powerful life. Not by waiting, but by deciding. So make the decision. Be ready now, not later, not tomorrow, now. Because readiness isn't a feeling that finds you. It's a decision you make in spite of how you feel. And once you understand that, once you live that, there's nothing you can't do. The idea of perfection is seductive. It whispers promises of certainty, security, and success. It tells us that if we just wait long enough, plan well enough, or prepare hard enough, the perfect moment will eventually arrive. The stars will align, the conditions will be ideal, and everything will fall into place. But here's the hard truth. Perfection is an illusion. It doesn't exist. Not in timing, not in people, not in opportunities. And the more we chase perfection, the more we delay action, growth, and progress. We've been conditioned to believe that timing matters more than anything. We say things like it's not the right time. I'll start when I'm ready, or once I have everything figured out, then I'll move. But if you're always waiting for the moment to be perfect, you'll be waiting forever. Because perfection is not a place you arrive at. It's a distraction from the present. Think about it. How many dreams have died because someone was waiting for a perfect moment? How many people never wrote the book, never launched a business, never applied for the job, never told someone how they really felt because they were holding out for that magical moment when all their doubts would vanish and the path would be crystal clear? That moment never came. And so they stayed stuck. Life doesn't hand out perfect moments, it hands out moments. Imperfect, messy, uncertain moments. And it's your job to make something out of them. The people who succeed, the people who break through, they don't wait for perfection. They work with what they've got. They start when they're scared. They move when they're unsure. They make decisions even when the outcome is unknown. And that's exactly what separates them from everyone else. The truth is, what we really want when we seek perfection is control. We want guarantees. We want to eliminate risk. We want to know that if we act, we'll succeed. But life doesn't work like that. Growth doesn't work like that. There are no guarantees. The only thing you can control is your decision to show up, to try, to give it your all. Chasing perfection creates paralysis. You get stuck in analysis mode. You overthink every possibility. You second guess every move. You obsess over every detail. And while you're busy trying to line up every variable, life is moving on without you. Opportunities are passing you by. Time is slipping through your fingers. And before you know it, you're left with regret. Not because you failed, but because you never even started. You don't need a perfect moment. You need purpose. When your purpose is strong enough, it overpowers the need for perfection. It gives you the courage to move in spite of the uncertainty. It anchors you when things get tough. And it reminds you why you started when the road gets rocky. Look around you. Look at the greatest innovators. Leaders, artists, and athletes, their journeys weren't perfect. They faced obstacles. They made mistakes. They fell down, sometimes hard. But they didn't let the absence of perfection stop them. They took messy action. They adjusted on the fly. They figured it out as they went. Because they understood that progress beats perfection every single time. Perfection says a wait, progress says a go. Perfection says, oh, not good enough yet. Progress says, you'll get better as you move. Perfection says, what if you fail? Progress says, even failure is a step forward. If you let perfection lead, you'll always find a reason to delay. But if you choose progress, you'll always find a reason to start. The irony is that perfection is often just fear in disguise. We call it being careful, being thorough, being responsible, but underneath it all, we're just scared. Scared to be judged, scared to make a mistake, scared to fall short. But fear loses its grip when you decide that action matters more than approval. When you decide that growth is more valuable than safety. Starting before you feel ready, before the situation is perfect, builds strength. It builds character. It builds resilience. You learn how to adapt, how to push through discomfort, how to trust yourself. And those are the real tools that lead to success. Not flawless timing or perfect conditions, but grit, commitment, and the ability to act in the face of uncertainty. You have to stop waiting and start moving. Start moving. Start messing. Start scared. Start with questions. Start with trembling hands if you have to. Because the longer you wait for the perfect moment, the more moments you waste. And the sad truth is, many people reach the end of their lives not regretting what they did, but regretting what they never even tried. Not because they weren't capable, but because they were waiting for everything to feel just right. There's no perfect moment. There's only now. And now is more powerful than perfect will ever be. Now is where progress lives. Now is where momentum begins. Now is where your story starts to shift. Don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. So drop the illusion, drop the excuse, drop the need for everything to line up. Instead, pick up your purpose, pick up your courage, pick up your willingness to learn and grow. Take the first step, not because it's perfect, but because it's necessary. Because your dreams won't wait forever. Because your potential is real. Because the world needs what you've got to offer. Messy, imperfect, and all. Perfection is a myth. Progress is a mindset. Choose to move. Choose to grow. Choose to start now. Success doesn't start when the world claps for you. It doesn't begin when the lights are on. The cameras are rolling and everyone's watching. Success is born in the shadow. It's created in silence. It's crafted when no one is around, when nobody is paying attention, when there are no awards, no validation, no recognition, just you and your work. The fifth keynote, a work in the dark so you can shine in the light, is not just a motivational phrase. It's a principle, a way of life for those who are serious about their goals. It's about understanding that greatness is built when no one is watching, when the stands are empty, when the applause hasn't come yet. That's where champions are made. Everybody wants the outcome, but not everyone wants the process. Everyone wants to shine, to be admired, to be recognized. But few are willing to embrace the grind, the early mornings, the late nights, the repetition, the boring details, the solitude. That's the dark. That's the part people don't post about. That's the part that doesn't get likes or followers. But that's also the part that determines whether you'll ever step into the light. Think about the seed that grows into a tree. Before it breaks the surface, before it sees the sun, it has to push through the dirt. It has to grow roots. It has to establish a foundation underground where no one can see. Without that underground work, the tree would fall the moment it felt wind. They're the same way. You have to build roots in the dark so that you can stand strong in the light. Working in the dark means committing to your craft, even when it feels like nobody cares. It means waking up early to study, to practice, to improve, even when there's no immediate reward. It means training when you're tired, learning when it's hard, meaning showing up even when motivation is nowhere to be found. That's the dark, and the dark tests you. It asks, do you really want this, or do you just like the idea of it? People who shine are the people who are willing to put in the hours when nobody else did. They stayed up studying while others slept. They practiced while others partied. They trained while others made excuses. And because they did the unseen work, they earned the spotlight later. But let's be clear, the spotlight didn't make them great. It only revealed the greatness they built when no one was watching. There's a misconception in the world today, especially with social media, that everything has to be seen to be valuable. That if your grind is in public, it doesn't matter. But real growth happens away from the camera. Real success is built when you're not trying to impress anyone, when the only competition is who you were yesterday. You've got to learn to love the dark, to embrace the silence, to find joy in the work itself. Because if you can only work when people are watching, you'll never reach your full potential. But if you can master the quiet moments, if you can stay consistent without needing applause, you'll be unstoppable when the spotlight finally finds you. Working in the dark also builds discipline. It trains your mind to act on commitment, not emotion. Because in the dark, there's no hype. There's no cheering crowd. It's just you and your decision to keep going. That's where mental toughness is forged. That's where habits are built. That's where you learn to keep your word to yourself, which honestly is the most powerful kind of trust there is. Think about an athlete preparing for a championship. You only see them on the court under the lights for a few hours. But what you don't see is the hundreds of hours of practice, the sweat, the failure, the drills repeated until their body remembers them automatically. That's the dark. That's the work that makes the victory possible. Without that, there is no win. The same applies to every field. Writers who spend months revise before the world sees a single word. Entrepreneurs who work for years without profit, grinding in silence. Students who lock themselves in libraries, mastering concepts that no one will applaud them for. That's the dark. And all of them do it because they believe in what's coming. They know that if they work long enough in the shadows, the light will come. But you can't cheat the dark. You can't skip it. You can't pretend to put in the work and expect real results. The dark reveals your character. It shows whether you're in it for the praise or the purpose. And if you can survive the dark, if you can thrive in it, you'll be ready when your moment arrives. Because when that light finally hits you, when the opportunity comes, when the world finally sees what you built, it will be too late for anyone to deny you. Your preparation will be obvious. Your excellence will be undeniable. Not because it magically appeared, but because you earned it through quiet, relentless effort. So stop waiting for validation. Stop needing the world to see every step. Okay with being unseen for a while. Be okay with being underrated. Let people sleep on you. Let them doubt you. Let them doubt you. Let them think you're not doing anything. You don't need to prove them wrong now. Just keep showing up in the dark. Keep doing the work. Keep grinding. Because when your moment comes, here's when your moment comes. You won't just step into the light. You'll own it. You'll dominate it. You'll dominate it. And everyone will wonder how you got there so fast. But you'll know the truth. You didn't rise overnight. You rose every day in the dark. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in our lives. It can control decisions, dictate behavior, and ultimately shape the direction of a person's life. But the truth is, fear is not always the enemy. It's an indicator. It's a signal. It shows you where the boundaries of your comfort zone lie. And more often than not, the moment fear shows up, it's pointing directly at the thing that could change your life. That's why this keynote of fear is a compass, not a cage. It's so important because far too many people are letting fear lock them in when it's actually trying to lead them forward. We grow up thinking that fear is a stop sign, that the moment we feel afraid, it's time to pull back, avoid the risk, retreat. But the most successful people in the world have learned that fear is not something to avoid. It's something to examine. It's not always a warning of danger. Sometimes it's a spotlight showing you where your greatest opportunity lies. The question is, are you brave enough to walk toward it instead of running away? Fear often shows up right before a breakthrough. It comes when you're about to step into the unknown, try something new, or level up. And that's because fear is rooted in uncertainty. Your brain is wired to protect you. So when you venture into unfamiliar territory, it sends alarms. Not because you're in real danger, but because it's unfamiliar. Your mind confuses discomfort with threat. And if you don't understand that, you'll think fear means stop, when really fear often means go. The most transformative moments in life usually come with a dose of fear. Whether it's starting a new job, speaking in public, launching a business, or moving to a new city, those butterflies, that hesitation, that tightness in your chest, that's not weakness. That's your body telling you that this moment matters, that you're on the edge of growth. Now, what you're about to do could shift your future. And instead of backing down, that's when you lean in. But here's the hard truth. Most people never realize their potential because they never get past their fear. They let it become a cage. They stay in safe zones, avoiding any path that involves uncertainty. But what they don't realize is that staying in that cage might keep them safe, but it also keeps them stuck. You can't soar if you never leave the ground. You can't grow if you never take risks. And you'll never become what you were meant to be if you let fear choose your path for you. Think about all the people who've done something extraordinary. They didn't do it because they had no fear. They did it despite the fear. In fact, they probably had more fear than anyone else, but they used it as fuel, not as a wall. They looked fear in the face and said, I'm doing it anyway. And that's the difference. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. Fear will try to talk you out of everything good. It'll say, ooh, you're not ready. They'll fail. But people will laugh at you. You're not qualified. It will feed your insecurities, play your worst case scenarios on a loop, and make the comfort zone look like paradise. But that comfort zone, it's a trap. It's where dreams go to die because nothing changes in there. Nothing grows. The comfort zone might feel good in the moment, but long term, it leads to regret. And regret is way more painful than fear. Fear is temporary. It passes once you push through it, but regret sticks. Regret haunts. Regret is the voice that whispers, what if late at night? And the only way to silence that voice is to face fear when it shows up and move anyway. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be willing. Willing to feel the fear and keep going. Willing to trust that what's on the other side is worth it. Willing to bet on yourself even when there's no guarantee. Every time you do that, every time you take a step, despite the fear, you shrink its power. You start to rewire your brain. You start to realize that fear doesn't control you. You control you. Fear can teach you. It can guide you. It can sharpen your focus and heighten your awareness. But only if you don't let it paralyze you. The next time fear shows up, don't run from it. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is this fear-based in fact or just emotion? Is it trying to protect me or is it trying to keep me small? And most importantly, what's waiting for me if I go through it? Because behind every fear is usually a dream, a goal, a version of you that's more powerful, more fulfilled, more alive. But you'll never meet that version if you stay locked in the cage. You've got to use fear like a compass. Let it point you in the direction that matters. Let it show you where your next step should be. And then take that step even if your knees are shaking. You don't have to conquer all your fears at once. Start small. Do one thing each day that's scared. Speak up when you'd rather stay silent. Try something you've been avoiding. Stretch yourself. Because the more you do it, the braver you become. And the braver you become, the more freedom you find. Fear is part of the journey. It's not the enemy. It's a sign that you're alive, that you care, that you're standing on the edge of something meaningful. But don't let it cage you. Let it guide you. Let it push you. Let it lead you into the life you were meant to live.